Welcome to episode 77 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. My name is Dave Burrows. I'm a director and owner of the Snowpro Ski School based here in Valdivia in Switzerland. Hope you're all well, and hopefully some of you will have already started skiing. It's kind of getting on to that time of the year. I'm recording this as of mid-September. I'm planning to go next week. So if the weather plays ball, I'll be off to Saas-Fee and then gradually ramping up my skiing as I go towards the winter. This week I have a returning guest. So here is a podcast with Tom Gellie. Tom Gellie is of Big Picture Skiing, amazing skier. I've done the intro for him before, so you kind of know all about him. If you don't know all about him, you can go back through the back episodes and find the previous interview that I did with Tom before. Tom thinks very deeply and technically about skiing and biomechanics. He's also kind of biomechanic physio expert, and always an amazing interview every time I speak to him. So this interview came about because he put up a Facebook post based on his experience of going skiing in Ski Dubai and skiing on rented equipment. And that prompted a sort of fairly viral post, and also a lot of backwards and forwards discussion with lots of very knowledgeable people in the comments about why rental boots are like they are. And obviously, if you've been listening to the podcast for a long time with me, you will have known me ranting about why rental boots are like they are and how it hinders, in my opinion, development of skiers pretty quickly as they start to progress. So this is a fairly sort of quick podcast. It wasn't a long ranging discussion, but we still managed to chat for an hour or so. And I just wanted to get this up quickly while the topic was still fresh in people's minds. So without further ado, this is Tom and I chatting about rental boots, and we just kind of jumped straight into it. So enjoy the podcast, and I will see you on the next one. Tom, how are you? You're in Australia. It must be night time there.
Yeah, it's the afternoon here. It's coming to the close of one of the best Aussie ski seasons we've had in a long time.
Are you in resort at the moment, or where are you?
I'm in Sydney at the moment, but I just got back the other week from a couple of weeks. I was in Thredbo, Perisher, and then Mount Buller.
Okay. And how was it? How's it been? Tell me all about it. I've seen some amazing footage from people who are out there and also in New Zealand this year.
Yeah, it's been really good. Just lots of snowfall dumps, which have come with cold air, and that's the thing you're always on the fence about here in Australia. Like, please let it get cold enough, not be so warm. Because a lot of the resorts, half of it'll be wet or raining, and the top might be some snow. But it's been big dumps all the way to the bottom. It dumped again last night, like 10, 12 centimeters. And yeah, we're well and truly into spring, but it keeps coming. And I've just had more enjoyable days on snow in Australia this year than I can remember in a long time.
That's amazing. That actually it mirrors a little bit what we had in the Northern Hemisphere this winter just gone, which was that it snowed early and it stayed cold pretty much all the way through to March. And that made a big difference, to everything. Everyone felt like they were skiing nice snow. The snow was holding up well. You could get your edges into the snow and rip some nice turns. I think that was the biggest difference this year. It went cold, stayed cold. We didn't have that warm snap that we normally have over Christmas. Made a big difference.
We actually finished up, most of the resorts finished up a couple of weeks ago last year. So, to be well and truly have a massive base. Spring skiing should be really good. I'm headed back down to Thredbo on Sunday, so in a couple of days' time, and I'm meeting up with a couple of people from Carve, and we're doing some videos. So they've seen that there's been some good snow. they've come over to grab a bit of content before the Northern Hemisphere winter hits. So that'll probably be one of my last skis if I don't do some backcountry later, maybe in October.
That's it. No, it's really cool. Yeah, I mean, like I say, that it's lovely to have a nice winter. It gets everyone hyped, and we had the same thing here. Everyone had a booming season because word spreads pretty quick. The snow's good, and things start to happen. So I'm pleased for you. That sounds great. But that's not the reason that we're here to chat, is it?
No.
So you put something up mid-July. You went to go and ski. You were skiing Ski Dubai. You were on a pit stop, weren't you?
That's right.
Yeah. And you came back from that experience because you went to Ski Dubai, but you did not take your own boots and equipment. You were just on a stopover. So then you came back in the same, so you'd done this thing that I've been thinking of doing for a very, very long time with my team, which I can never get organised, is that I wanted to put my team in rental equipment, like not expert level, not gold boots or premium or whatever, like the base stuff, the cheapest stuff you can find. And I wanted to take them skiing on it, but you've done it. And then you came back, I'm guessing, ranting, just like, what is going on here? And that prompted a Facebook post or blog, I'm guessing, a whole thing, and about 1 million comments on Facebook, which I've just read through again to refresh myself. Some amazing comments in there, like really knowledgeable people telling you why it's like that. But give me a quick summary of like what your, maybe even the overall Ski Dubai experience was as well, but just generally like how that all came about.
Okay. Well, I suppose, there's the experience of an indoor ski centre, that was definitely half of the purpose, because they're building an indoor ski centre in Sydney. And so that should be coming in, I don't know, over the next 3 years. So that's close to my back door. I would love that because then I can go training, I can run camps, I can, more people have access to something like that. So I wanted to check out what the indoor slope was like again, because I'd only been once a long, long time ago in the UK, and I couldn't remember, how the snow was. And also the Ski Dubai one's quite large. So what was that like? So that was mission 1. And then mission 2, I was going to bring my own boots at first because I just have really bony ankles and feet, and in particular about my boots. I thought, that's what I'll bring. I won't worry about skis. At least I'll have my own boots. And then I went, no, why don't I find out what it is like for people who just go along and have to rent this gear, and what is it like? Because I'm really into boots. So I think, the better you get, you start noticing these things, and little tweaks to your boots can really make a difference, allow you to do more with your skiing. So completely reversing it right back, and what that felt like was sort of mission number 2. So I'm going to start there because I think that's probably the more interesting one and covers more people. So we get in and we rent some boots, and the first thing I faced was the guy's like, what shoe size are you? And I told him, and then he brought back like a 28.5 boot. And I said, no, I'm a 26.5. He goes away, comes back to 27, even though I'd said it. No, 26.5. Comes back with
I'm looking at you like, I've never seen you standing up, but I'm looking at you right now. There is no way you're a 28. Like, never in the world.
No. So anyway, so that was the first interesting thing, just realizing that this guy, and he wasn't new working there. He'd been working there for a while. He was like, I just don't want you to complain that the boots are too tight. I'll just give you 2 larger boots to begin with. And the 26 were like a bucket anyway. So spacious. So we all, same experience with Archie and my wife, Jenny, 2 big So we finally got some smaller boots. And yeah, the first thing I noticed is the ramp angle. So the base board that you stand on, that felt flatter. So at first I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, because sometimes boots with too much ramp can cause issues. And I thought, oh, this would be good. I haven't really skied on a completely flat ramp angle boot really ever. But then the second thing was it was straight upright. So I did the boot up and I took this video side on, and my knee is just straight over like my heel. Like from my hip straight down to my ankle is a straight line. And that's where the boot wanted to position me.
Yeah.
So I should say I could flex the boot fine. It wasn't stiff, very, very flexible and easy to flex. But when I just relaxed and didn't think, it made me stand bolt upright. And the same thing with Jenny, my wife, same thing with Archie, bolt upright. I was like, oh, wow, here we go. Like, I wonder how this is skiing. So we go up the lift, and it takes this dog leg, and we're up to the top, and you can see people coming down. We're really excited for our first run down. And yeah, the get off the lift and straight away, just too much on my heels, trying to like battle forward and then make like 3 or 4 turns and then stop. And I'm laughing. I'm just laughing so much because there's Archie and he's fallen over. Jenny's laughing. We all look ridiculous because we're in these ski Dubai rental outfits and these ginormous like egg-shaped helmets with no goggles, which looks terrible. I felt so uncool and just felt so uncoordinated and unathletic, just like this pencil in this rental bag egg helmet setup. But it was so much fun. But yeah, so rental boots are very upright. They're really, really upright. And as you read, like what was some of the comments that really stuck out? Because yeah, you've looked at it more recently than me. As to why, so maybe say like, what was the professionals saying the rationale behind it was?
Right. So the one that I just got the most out of, so there was quite a few funny comments in there, but there's definitely ones where you've got a real professional thing coming on. There's a guy on there called Brent Amesbury, thank you. If you ever have a chance to listen to this, I've learned like a massive amount there in just a very short period of time. But what he was saying essentially is that pencil upright, everything above everything stance is essentially designed to limit the fatigue of the absolute beginner skier and kind of hook them into the sport. Because if you were to put a complete beginner skier in your boot with I don't know what you ski with on your baseball, but like a aggressive ramp angle. I personally ski with like a gas pedal. That's how I like my boots set up. But other people like it in a different way, and everyone's different, we should say. Yeah, and it was basically to limit the fatigue, because if you put a complete new skier in your boot, their quads essentially would just be burning after a short period of time. And it's the easiest way for like a quick win. They're also, the boots are like they are to accommodate the widest variety of
leg shapes,
foot, weirdness shapes. That's why they're shaped like buckets, but obviously that has a limitation that limits precision. Yes. But so essentially something to do with the upright stance is it sort of enables you, if you're not used to skiing, to put muscular power into essentially a gliding wedge shape, so that you can go to Ski Dubai or one of the other places, or indeed out here, and get a quick win. Like, 3 hours, I learned how to ski, I came down the slope, I feel great, then you're in. But he was essentially saying is that once you've done that kind of, once you've made a gliding plow, you should immediately then go to a shop and buy boots that are set up for you. But not everyone does that, obviously, but the sooner you can do that, the better, I think, compared to your average kind of bog standard rental boot. So it's to do with quick wins, is as what I understand it to be.
Yes. And then did you see what I wrote back?
Yeah, I saw a bit. It's like seven of them.
I'll say, because Brent's a good friend of mine.
He knows so much.
Boot fitter.
Yeah.
And I've also learnt a ton off him and interviewed him many times on my podcast. But I said back, I was like, that totally makes sense, the efficiency thing.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to hook a skier, you should allow one of the first things you learn as an instructor, and what does everyone say? Bend your ankles, get in an athletic stance. That's the first thing you learn. So you don't have to be in an aggressive, like Marcel Hirscher ankle flexion position. But having ankle flex is so important. And these rental boots like literally push you out of ankle flexion, and it requires an effort that as soon as you kind of switch off and are thinking, it pushes you back upright. And if you can flex your ankle, then you're standing in the center of the ski where the ski is designed to turn from. It's easier to do. And so I said, well, for someone's first time, if they can get the feeling of turning, stopping in control and not feeling out of control in the back seat, then that's going to hook them more than just, oh, my legs aren't tired. Like, I'd rather be tired and in control than not tired and out of control and maybe do my ACL because I crashed into someone or something. And I just don't think it's been something that has been maybe visited for a while or really thought about properly. But it just really blew my mind that entry level. And I know like when Archie was younger, having a boot that allowed ankle flex was so important. So that was like, and everyone who had kids that, maybe had made it a fist level, they're like, when you get your son his first pair of boots, like these little Solomon ones that basically have no resistance at the front, they're super easy to flex, get those.
Yeah.
I was just blown away.
This has been a personal bugbear of mine for ages, and I've lost count of the number of clients that I've sent back to the shop. So like we just, we have a lot of clients who ski with us long term. They ski like each weekend of the season or multiple times during the season, and I'll often send the parents back to the shop. So like, you need to get the kid out of this boot, otherwise you're just wasting your money with me, because we're not going to progress beyond a certain level. So the effect of those boots that hold you artificially upright. Have you also seen that? It's in all the rental shops. There's a really crappy like Solomon 2 or 3 buckle boot. It's got a boot that goes over the ankle, literally over the ankle joint like that.
Yes, I know the one you're talking about.
It's at a right angle. And the number of kids that show up with that boot, I'm just like, no, absolutely not. Right, that needs to go back. Go and get yourself a proper. And I'm really fussy about it. So when I take Zoe to the shop at the start of the season to rent her stuff, but no, give me that little mini head raptor thing, the one that looks like a proper race boot. It's got a proper angle on it, because otherwise we're not going to be able to ski. I'm not going to have my kid spending an entire season sitting in the back seat doing snowplow because she can't get off of the rear inside edge of that ski. That's what it promotes, right? It promotes an upright stance. You're back behind the pivot point of the ski. If you're behind the pivot point of the ski, you're going to be stuck in the snowplow. And then you're done for the entire season, that entire ski season. Like your kid's not developing.
I saw Archie literally the week before, because we had this inter-schools event and he was down there racing, and he's got a good little pair of like junior performance boots that have good angles. And so I know what he looks like, and he has, and as soon as he was in that boot, he's got like a pretty good ankle flexed position. Like he can't go too far back.
Yeah.
And so he knows what it's like. And then he got in this one, and I was watching him, and he's just backseat everywhere. Like, so he didn't know. And I looked at the video myself. I don't really look backseat because I know what I'm trying to do with the ski, and I know to do that. But it was effort, and if you're not aware of that and you're trying to learn, this boot environment is not helping with that at all right from the get-go, and then you wonder why, the instructors are having a hard time. And you know what? It's so funny. Even 2 weeks ago, doing training with level 2 ski instructors going for level 2 at Threadbow, one of the guys was a snowboarder, and so he's crossing over. So he's a decent snowboarder, but skiing's a newer thing. And he'd bought a pair of X rental boots at the beginning of the season, and we're working on some stuff in short turns and carving, and his ankle is just not bending. And the same thing was there. This boot is just like, as you said, the right angle.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't get it. I said, look, you're trying so hard. And I'd seen him snowboard. He's really good, really athletic. So It's not him. It was the boot. And I said, mate, you have to just get in a different boot. So we got to the locker room, and his buddy, he's like, can I just try your boots on? Because they're the same size. He put it on. So he did an A/B test, and he's like, oh, wow, yeah. This other one I just feel on my heel, and I can tell like I can't stand in the same position.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you can, like, you can tell. You get someone in that boot, and they can feel that they go into a more athletic stance. And I don't understand. I don't see that many people that come to me that want to ski that I would say are kind of unathletic. Most people who get up there and manage to make it up to the top are, reasonably fit and they want to go. I don't see the need for that right angle, the argument of
that's
it's
right.
less fatiguing, unless
Yes.
those boots are specifically designed for maybe what you might say is a one-day experience, right?
Yeah.
And to me,
I think they need to go back to the drawing board. And make some better, even if it was, had a simple walk mode, so you could change it, like upright, notch 1, notch 2. And then the instructor could come along and go, hey, let's just change that. Because perhaps, again, the argument Brent was saying, like people with really large calves, that more upright boot, they're actually flexed fine in it because their calves add like a spoiler to it, so they're flexed and they're fine. But you've got to kind of cover the whole spectrum, and I think sort of some adjustment there would really help. I think it would just make the first time experience easier. Instructors would be able to progress people onwards faster, and perhaps you would get more people continuing and sticking around.
So there's a couple of things. So one is I when I was training for my Swiss final mountain safety exam, I thought to myself, I probably need like a pair of touring boots or something like that. Something I can walk up the hill in pretty well. I found these boots, got them, they were lightweight. They did all the stuff that they were supposed to do. But when I tried to ski down on them, exactly the same problem. They were too upright. I think they were upright. I guess this gives you some sort of benefit for going uphill or whatever. But when it came down to skiing in the powder, my experience of actually going down was terrible. It's exactly the experience that you mentioned when your first turns on Ski Dubai, right? Backseat, couldn't really get anywhere. I thought, this is terrible. I'm not really winning in any way, shape, or form here. So what I did is I got myself a frame binding, and I just did the exam in my old Head Raptor race boots. I was just like, look, I'd much rather have I've got strong legs. I'd much rather have a more crappy time going up for the benefit of having a proper performance boot on the way down in the stuff that we're actually here for, right? That's the compromise that I ended up in. I don't do a great deal of touring, and I kind of, that boot, if I'm honest, put me off of it. And it was awful.
Yeah, I was going to say that it made me think of, so I didn't have a hard time skiing. I thought it was going to be maybe more difficult. So you and I that know the feelings, the movements of skiing, we can kind of muscle our way around or figure a solution around it. But when you're learning a sport, you're looking to find those things. And if the equipment is already guarding you or containing you in a space and a range that is not where you're trying to be at, that's difficult. Like I remember seeing this guy surfing on a piece of plywood, like surfing better than I can surf on this wave. Piece of plywood. I'm like, wow, I wish I could do that. And it's not even shaped round. It's just like a rectangle, and he's just cruising along. And so, you're not going to give a new surfer a blank of plywood and expect them to have a fast progression. And so with skiing, why would you give someone a piece of equipment that is making it harder for them to find the feelings that we all know and I was searching for straight away, and was like, that's missing. That feeling's missing. You want to put them in an environment that's almost like, this is the feelings. This is ankle flexion. This is feeling forward. The pressures, the boot's going to put you here. Okay, right. That's, I'm going to pay attention to that.
But what feelings was it? Let's dig into that. Like, what feelings were missing? I'm guessing maybe the feeling of kind of being located on the forefoot or above the arch.
Yeah, that was missing. It was a lot harder to get pressure to the front of the foot. That was just evident straight away. And then just the flex in the ankle, like having the knee kind of resting forward, was missing, like the shin pressure. That was the other thing I remember. After 3 runs, I started getting shin bang. So, it'd be like, pressure on the top of the shins. So shin bang is when you've got a boot that is too upright or meets your shin that is trying to be forward. So imagine these 2 angles, your shin angle and the front of the cuff of the boot angle don't line up except for this point where they meet, and you're flexing at that point, and you do that 200 times in a row, and of course your shin is sore, and people go, oh, well, you get these pads.
Yeah.
I saw the other day, these people like promoting these socks with gel, fix shin bang, all that sort of stuff. It's like, actually, you can get in a pretty stiff boot, and as long as it matches up the angle, the shin pressure is spread along the whole entire front of the shin, not this single point. That's the pressure is like, load over area. So you put it over one small area, doesn't matter how soft that boot was, like soft and mushy, it still hurts. So that was a real eye-opener for me to really experience shin bang. I'd never had that before. I was like, that's a pretty good reason as to what's being caused there. So if you're listening and you have that problem, you've possibly got a boot, the front angles are not lined up. And I'm going to keep going there, Dave, because something I find people don't look at. So you look at a boot and everyone looks at the forward lean as the angle at the back of the boot. Because, so you imagine, that angle, of course, if that could be steep. But when you flex your ankle, what's stopping you is not the back of the boot, unless it's tightly buckled up. It's the front.
Mm-hmm.
So where that wraps around. Now imagine you have the front angle of the boot and say that is, we'll just call it 90 degrees straight up. Okay. And the back of the boot is 15. Can you see, like, that person, or one, they're going to have a trouble flexing their ankle because they're meeting an angle at the front that's not congruent with their shin, and there's a pressure point. And so I don't think people check that front point. I remember Lang had a few boots where they just this super upright front of the cuff. And then a second thing too, I don't think realize people, when you get a big boot, a bit like the cuff is too large and people tighten the buckles a lot, you close that volume down, but the volume closes at the front. So then the front of the boot becomes more and more upright. And so then the tighter, people go, oh, I need more security because it's this too big volume thing. They tighten it. It gets worse because now they're clamped in this thing, but their shin is bolted straight upright. And the more plastic that overlaps, so if you've got lots of it overlapping, Brent taught me this, you get stiction. So the more plastic surface area touching, you get this stiction and it doesn't move. The boot becomes really rigid and stiff and can't flex the way it was designed. So a bit of a sidetrack there, but maybe think of this front angle, shin, bang, and then mostly rental boots being too big, so people having to do the buckles up, and then you get just compounded even further.
Well, let's talk about that, because I did the centre where I did this thing will remain unnamed, but we did. I have a charity that I run, and we run ski days for people affected by cancer. And so we were running a day at one of the indoor snow centres, and I don't want to be overcritical, because I imagine that just the sheer volume and turnover of people that go through there had exactly the same experience as you had at Ski Dubai. The majority of the stuff that people were wearing was too big, because same thing, right? Give you a boot 2 sizes too big. They might come with 3 pairs of socks on or something. And I don't know, like just to make sure that it really fits, because most people are not aware that a tight boot gives you more control, and they don't want that feeling of tightness, right? But the other one was the overall, it struck me as like the age of the rental stock. The plastic was all just like hard. The boots themselves almost didn't look like ski boots. They were such buckets that they were like, just huge. Even for the size of the people that were in there, I was like, well, I put my boot next to this boot. It's like literally half the size. And I think I'm in a 28 these days. And, because there's just less mass of it. And they're also taller. They literally go, some people, they were going halfway up their leg. It looked like a sock almost. Like a long sock. And so you look at that combination of factors. So you're sort of standing upright, really upright. You've got a very, very hard plastic that doesn't really, either it's hard plastic, it's old, doesn't work, it's long. I don't understand, like you, why that would be the beginner boot that's trying to hook people into the sport.
I suppose we could simply put as money, like it's much cheaper.
Yeah.
All those, and not replacing boots, old equipment. I think having a rental ski shop business is a pretty good gig to get in. You buy a pair of boots and you rent them for 35 years straight. You get good return on that. So that's one thing. The other thing too that just went through my mind is like, it's also, I guess, okay. Like we can be here on the other side of it, come through all that, and plenty of people still do fall in love with the sport, and it's not totally completely ruining the experience. Sure, it could be a lot better. I just think it's really interesting at this point, where we are, knowing what we know, and perhaps there's some people in there listening. There's probably not going to be the beginners, but maybe they take their friends and they can help spot some of these things, and so then they have a better experience. Perhaps also they're partway through this journey, or they've got this intermediate kind of boot, but their skills are above that and they don't realize maybe some of these red flags, or that instructors watching. Like that's probably the main thing. Like back to your point, you wanted to do that with your instructors to remind them it's not, these people aren't dumb about flexing their ankle. You go and try and stand in that boot and ski really well. You'll find it more trickier than you think. It takes more work, and if you don't know what you're looking for, it's going to put you in this position that's not all we know is a good ski stance.
Yeah, and I suppose not everybody is nerded out to the levels that we and a lot of other people have. In terms of boots, what I know has come about over speaking to people more intelligent than me, experimentation over the course of 2 decades. Like that's how I know what I know, and I can spot a boot issue on the hill like that. But not everybody can. If you're 1 or 2 years into your ski teaching career, that's a tough thing to spot, because you're still working through a whole list of other things that you think might be the problem that actually isn't necessarily the problem.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know Mark Shaxted was on that post, and he was talking about like compiling some sort of cheat sheet, but I don't think it's, giving that knowledge to instructors early in a sort of formatted way. This is what you might see, and this could be the cause. But boots are so complex. I don't think that you can reduce it down to something as simplistic as that, because we haven't even got to the point where, let's say you stand in that dead flat boot with the upright cuff, then you're going to go onto a rental ski binding and you haven't got a clue what the binding angle is on that, like the difference between front and back. That then can put you in a weird position. Or you might, there might be the odd person who accidentally gets a combination of a rental boot that maybe wasn't right for them, but somehow the binding fixes it. And all of a sudden you've got one of those guys who's like straight to parallel. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you can have like happy accidents like that but the whole topic is so complex. I don't think you can reduce it down to something as simple as, oh, that guy isn't doing that because boot. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that what it really made me realize was feelings. The best lessons I give, or the best results you get, I find, are when someone captures a new feeling they've never had before. And so your equipment can really help you with that, is, I guess, the main thing. I've just seen people go from one boot into another boot that changes something, that they suddenly, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
Here's another example. The other week, really tall guy, long legs, going for his level 4, and he, for level 4 in Australia, you have to do this retraction extension turn demonstration where you show like bend and stretch. So really short in the transition, stretch your legs out long in the middle of the turn, bend and flex underneath. So like a Valmont type turn. So you're trying to show those movements. The timing is really important. You get marked on that. The performance, so not just skidding it, but kind of semi-carve steering it as well. Anyway, he was having trouble, and actually pain, I didn't realize this, but pain in his knees, bending to this low position that he had to be in for the transition. And I said, I think you need, for your size legs and everything, you need heel lifts. So we went and bought some heel lifts. The next day, he's like, oh, wow, could do the demo. For one, he's like, my knees aren't hurting, so I actually want to bend and get down there.
Yeah.
And then number 2, like in the bumps, you could straight away see, we had video from a few weeks before where he didn't have the heel lifts in it, and now, and his legs were moving. The range was coming in because the platform he was standing on in these boots suddenly worked with all his limb lengths, torso length, where the weight was in his body. And then he suddenly like could change some movement patterns. But it wasn't his fault. He wasn't dumb. He wasn't not grasping it. He just was blocked with, how he could move. And that's the thing with equipment. Like the equipment, the boot, everyone talks about like it's a lever, and absolutely it is a lever. It's what you need. You need that, but it's also got to be a comfortable environment that you can work within to do that sort of stuff.
No, for sure. It's
I guess you imagine having a handle of a hammer that is rough and splintered.
Yeah.
And sure, you can hammer, it still works like that, but you're going to stop after a while, and you're not going to hit as hard. And boots sort of similar.
It's funny. I've got another podcast kind of in the bag, which is probably going to follow this one, which was with a guy called Jason Hendy, who I worked with last year, and we had a conversation about this post. And he also is a big, tall guy, big, long tibia, and he benefits also, I think, from putting a slight lift in the back of his boot. I experimented with that particular thing for a few years, and actually for me it's completely counterintuitive, because my ankle, I wouldn't say it hyperextends, but it goes further than the average cat, and so it does not help me any way at all to put a lift under my heel. In fact, I need the opposite. So that's why I fix it with the binding. So I put a 2mm piece of plastic underneath my binding toe binding, and that sorts it out with the language that I'm in. I've stood better because what that gives me is it allows my ankle and then subsequently knee and hip to get down to those flex positions. And so this is why I think that you can't necessarily have... So the effect for me, if I was to keep that binding flat, so let's say that I didn't put the riser under, right? I then end up with a position where I feel like I'm toppling forward, and the pivot point, I can feel the pivot point of the ski, it moves in front of the toe binding, like massively. So I'm doing these kind of almost like a butter turn. And it's incredibly fatiguing. So I get pain at the top of the I get pain at the quads where it meets the knee without that riser. But that's taken me years and years and years to come across the solution for that. And that's why I don't think that you can have a cheat sheet that says, oh, try this, because people are so different. I'm also tall like Jason. I've also got long levers like Jason, but I haven't got his unique set of issues. My issues are different, which require a different solution. So I don't know how you can do that aside from finding the best guru that you can find to give you tips and stuff and all that. And there's not that many people out there that know about this stuff, I don't think.
No, and all you need a boot that hasn't really been invented, or that probably has been in the past tried, where you can modify and change everything. So you've got from 0 to 5 ramp angle in the boot board. You have got from, pretty much upright to like 20 degrees of forward lean. You can move the cuff in or out. You can expand the volume.
Yeah.
Maybe that's pushing it, but at least changing those angles. If you could do that, that would be amazing, because then people would just be like, right, one run like this, that feels good. Oh, that feels better. Oh, that feels best. And then you can find out. But yeah, you don't know until you go try these things. And just because someone else, like that tall guy I worked with, the heel lift, he suddenly had no knee pain. He could bend better. Like this, I'm similar to you. I actually feel like I ski more through the sweet spot of the ski with it not too much heel lift. But I've experimented with that. I put heel lifts in, and I've got a video of myself skiing, and I look like I'm like bent right down the whole time, because when it's up like that, you're in the gym, for example, you have those heel lifted weightlifting shoes. You can squat with your ass to the ground so easy, and your back can be bolt upright. You change it, and your body just adjusts. So you get different responses. Your body adjusts, differently. The hip joint when you change that, and you don't even have to think about it. Just your body does it. Because you've walked up and over hills and things with different angles, so it knows. It's just looking for these pressure points that you are right. So it just adjusts everything to that point. So I guess if we summarize that bit, it's like, if you don't know whether a heel lift works or a gas pedal works, you should probably go test those things, right? Because we both know. We both know one doesn't work and one makes us feel more centered and better. So if you don't be in the dark about it. Have a crack with it. Just put some bits of cardboard, under the footbed or something, and lift it up by 2 or 3 mil and go do some runs.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the heel lift is probably the easiest one to experiment with if you think that might be your issue. You're right in terms of if I don't have that riser under the toe, I don't have the gas pedal, my back goes very straight, and then it restricts my hip movement, and all of the work is being done essentially with my ankles and my knees, and the subsequent pressure that goes through that. But what happens if I lift up the toes slightly, everything just stands up a little bit taller, and then I've got a massive, it's amazing, just for a 2mm piece of plastic like that, the range of movement that I then have is huge, and the ability to kind of flex and move my hips to the inside, like everything opens up. It's absolutely crazy. But the heel lift, for example, is when I was experimenting with that, literally you go to the pub, like you go to the bar, grab a couple of beer mats, and you can experiment with that all day long.
Yeah.
Like that's an easy one to do. I know a guy who was experimenting with coins, like taping coins to the underside of the boot or something like random like that. That was a weird one, but like it was. If you're out here doing a season or something, you've got plenty of time to experiment with that kind of stuff. Do 1-2 days here and there. You very quickly find out what works and what doesn't. And I'm on eBay all the time buying bits of 2mm plastic, like cutting them up and, taking bindings in and out and getting longer screws and all sorts of stuff. But I think what you've got to do is you've got to give yourself the best chance you possibly can to ski as well as you possibly can, especially as you go through the levels, because with limited equipment, you're only going to arrive to a certain point, and at some point you've got to go to a pro level equipment and learn how to ski it and set it up for you. Like otherwise, you're not going to get to the level 3 or the level 4. You're just not. Like it's not achievable. Yep. I've got a guy on my team at the moment who I've kind of been thinking. I saw him ski at the end of last year, and he's going for his level 3, and he skis. He's got a funny style about him, and I'm convinced it's equipment. I'm absolutely convinced that it's not him. He's skiing in that certain way because his body cannot ski in any other way because he's limited by the equipment that he's on. And that is, that's one of my projects for this season. Once I get him back on snow, I'm going to start messing around with his equipment and see if we can change him up a little bit in terms of how he just stands on the ski. See if we can give him more options, more optionality.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think people should just not be afraid of that testing. I think that's something that I've just done or never been worried about with myself, but also with guests. So this is just maybe me passing on some advice to, you're going to do it, Dave, but to listeners out there, other instructors, really, if you're playing with like the ramp angle, that's pretty safe. Like when you start playing with stuff under the binding, I'm just going to be saying don't do that because that's, you're messing with safety stuff. But if it's, stuff behind the calf in front of the shin, to change angles there on the inside of the leg or the outer side of the leg to maybe like play with cuff alignment if someone's really knock-kneed in the boots. You can use those beer coasters. The trail maps are great. So another one this season with a friend's wife, we're skiing and I'm like, why are you not flexing your ankle? And she's like, I'm trying extremely hard. Should you feel like your toes are gripping?
Yeah.
And we both look at each other like, no. Flex our ankle and she's like, oh my God, I'm like gripping. So straight away, this is the problem. So we go inside, take our boots off, get some hot chips, sit down, we're eating them. Straight away, like looking at this boot, she's a lady, so quite a short foot. The boot board is very steep, so it has a lot of ramp, so heel high, toe low. So like having a heel lift in.
Yep.
And so we ripped up the cardboard box that the chips are in into the shape of the front of the, front half of the footbed kind of thing. And I put that in. And so tried to level it out a bit more. She stood in one boot, not the other. And I said, bounce on one foot, bounce on the other. What's it feel like? And she's like, oh, now I feel like I can stand on the front of my foot, like my whole foot, but also I want to flex.
Yeah.
When it was leveled out. And so she went out and straight away, like took off, like faster than normal. Edging was better. Balance was better. She had more fun. And the only way we found that out was because we took the boots off, put some cardboard in there and gave it a go and like A/B tested and then went and tried it out. But maybe a good tip there is often people with bigger feet and smaller feet, boots are designed more in the mid-range. So as you go to the either ends of the extreme, sometimes these things aren't taken into consideration. Maybe the same ramp angle is given to someone with like 3 sizes smaller feet when that, you change a ramp over a length of space and it gets steeper. And you make it longer like this. So this guy, that tall guy, I think he must have been in 28 boots, a much longer boot. Maybe that boot is actually just more on the flatter side. So in your size, Dave, maybe one you're like, I love this boot. But for him, it was too flat and he just needed a bit of jacking up because of the length of his foot and everything. So there's a clue. If you're at the short or the long end, often those people you might need to experiment with some of these things because, you might not have enough heel lift longer and you might be too ramped up if you're a short person. I know that's the same with Archie too. He had this 1 year, we rented these atomic boots. And I looked at my wife after the first day arriving in Canada on great snow. We'd been in Australia, not on great snow. Arriving in Canada, what's up with Archie? What the hell? Like, he's gone backwards. He should be stronger, older. He's just in the back seat. He's knock-kneed, everything. These boots were like the whole bucket thing, and they had a massive, like, didn't have the ramp angle. They had this, like, heel and this big dipping drop, and then the toes were, like, way lower. And anyway, as soon as I've modified them a bit, they got better, never great. But as soon as he got into these new boots, just instantly better.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll mention there, he had all these accidents. He had 2 accidents and 3 actually really hurt his knee, like twisted his knee because this boot was just a bucket and he couldn't stand in it properly. And then he hasn't really had any problems since being in something that's actually fitting better.
We often see kids make great leaps, from one year to the other. And whilst I think a lot of the time we'd like to think that's down to our tuition, a lot of the time you get the kid in the right boot and they just kind of, nature takes over, right? Like if you put your feet, if you know roughly what you're supposed to be doing and you can put your feet where you want to put them, that makes a huge difference. A lot of the time you just work it out yourself, Yeah. And so that is I think it's an important thing. I don't want to slag off like all rental shops because I don't think that is a thing. I think there are rental shops I know that turn over their stock every 2 years deliberately. I know of places that have got guys that know their stuff. So I think probably, I don't want to tar all kind of rental boots and rental places with the same brush. I think what we're talking about is the kind of the mass. This is an experience. You're going to Ski Dubai, you're going to an indoor place, and they've got that kind of generic black bucket boot, the stiff's been in the stock for 5 years or whatever, is skied with 1,000 people. And that is not the same as going to, say, a ski resort and going into at least 3 or 4 rental shops I know where they'll do a decent job and put you in a decent boot. That's for sure. But there's definitely in those kind of what would you call it, like a sausage machine kind of environment, you do get that boot because that boot is literally just for the one time, the one time I'm going through Dubai airport and I'm going to try skiing. I've got a layover and that's what I'm going to do. That's what that boot is. That's the one that you were specifically talking about for that experience. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And I think, you and I were not really in a position to maybe change this around the world. I have no hallucinations about that at all. And also, people have got to run a business. So I can understand, why hanging on to stuff, and it's hard these days as well. So I always try and put myself in the shoes of other people. But so understanding, those things, yes, my message now would be like, say, Sydney's indoor ski resort. If you're listening, buy really good stuff or the best rental gear and look into it, check all the brands and see which one, maybe has like a wide ranging kind of maybe cuff area, but not a bolt upright boot, and don't buy a bunch of old boots. That would be the message. And I think really, as we are noticing, if we can spread the word to instructors to be aware of it, and also that they should go and do this test, a bit like going and putting a heel lift in. Go and try some rental boots, because then you actually will know from experience. You won't just take our word from it as to what it's like.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and it's kind of really motivated me to try and get this thing organised this year. I really want to get the whole team.
You should do it,
man. Like it's just a cost, because I think we're going to go there. I need to find a friendly rental shop that's going to do it. But like, I really, really want to do it. You know, just even if it's for a morning. It's like, okay, well, look, we all, you know, the myth of the ski instructor, I think, to a certain extent, there's a reason why we all ski really well, because we've got gear that's perfectly tailored for us, right? And, you know, I saw that progression over the course of the last year. We had a guy called Valentin showed up, you know, over the course of the year. You know, his level from the start to the end the difference was incredible. And it was literally due to getting a half decent pair of boots and a half decent pair of skis. And he was away. And to be fair, you don't even need the half decent pair of skis. Essentially, the boot is the thing. The boot is the main thing. I once went. I went back in when I used to drink. My friend Ben, who had set up the ski school, was here. We once had a massive party, but we were due to go to Cervinia the next day, and we must have been going till 3-4 in the morning, big house party, like everyone back. And for some reason, I'd locked the skis on the roof of my car, and then we'd driven to Cervinia with our own boots, but I'd left the key at home. So we got there, got out of the car. It's going to be a lovely story to end the podcast. Got out of the car. We're like, I can't get the skis off the roof. Where's the key? And the key is in the apartment somewhere, like 3 hours away. Like trying to break the roof rack, trying to get my skis off. I was like, okay, fine. We're going to have to go into the rental shop. So we're going to the rental shop. You know, this old Italian boy's in there. And he's like, oh, we need some skis. You know, we're expert skiers. So, well, if you're expert skiers and ski instructors, why haven't you got your own skis? You know, and so I ended up with a pair of like 90s Volcal 5 stars, and have our own poles, own boots, fit them up, took them up the mountain. And do you know what? I had a glorious day on the Volcal 5 stars. Absolute glorious day. Like early generation sort of carver, you know, like a parabolic ski. And because I had my own boots, you can still rip around on them, you know. So custom boots is where it's at. Like it's the ski. You can ski on any old ski. You can ski on the plywood surfboard, right? If you can do it. But the boots, the connection, the interface between your body and the equipment is the key thing out of all of it. That's the thing, and that's why, you know, I think you and I are so baffled that when we're trying to hook people into the sport for that first time that they do it, that they're given such a a hard plastic bucket to put on their feet.
Hard upright plastic, yeah. The upright thing, just the angled part. I just wish that was better.
It's an audio podcast, but you can't see Tom's face. He just looks like despair, you know. Well,
and
cool.
Sharp skis. I wish that was the other thing. I wish the skis were sharper there, because it was that I'm used to just having very well tuned skis, and the boots with the untuned skis made it more challenging. Yeah.
Do you think if you have
feelings, it was just the same feelings, you know, because like everyone's skiing there. I could skid down, I could stop and all that stuff, but the feelings that you start to learn to love as a good skier, like the rebound, the quick edge, that sort of stuff, the responsiveness, that's all that I missed. And I think as you get better and you upgrade your equipment, you start like tapping into these little 1% more cool feelings that just keep you hooked on the sport and loving it more.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Cool. All right. Well, listen, we've been going an hour. We're only supposed to talk about one Facebook post. You and I, you know how it goes. Where are you skiing next? Where are you off to? You're going back to, you said Threadbow?
Back to Threadbow.
How far away is that?
3 days there. That's 6 hours drive. and that'll be like the seventh or eighth trip this season. So I can't wait to not do that again for a little while. And then I'm off to Austria, Hintertux in November with Carve again. And so we've got some videos planned to shoot there. One really interesting topic actually is on ski design and different types of skis and the feelings and effects of those skis. So, because you know, some people like they show up to a carving lesson on a pair of, you know, vocal
5 stars. The 5-star
wide skis.
Yeah.
Not
the fat ones.
That would be great.
Yeah, the fat ones.
Yeah, the fat ones.
Yeah.
Or like something wide. And they're like, yeah, I'd love to carve, you know, some high edge angles and do really well. It's like, well, you're on like 20-meter radius. That thing's got to get going really fast. It's also, you know, you've hit a bunch of rocks, so it's not really going to grip well, and it just doesn't carve. And so anyway, we want to do a video on that and then collect the metrics, and then also go a bit deeper into, you know, flex and like what is changing a few different things do and what do certain people like. And so, yeah, we're going to dive into that one. I'm really excited to do that because that's it's just an interesting one. Again, like when you change all these parameters, like I've started skiing these custom skis where you can actually tune the torsional flex to your liking, like you can tell them what you want, and the longitudinal flex, the width, all those things. And yeah, it's just like I think I'd been skiing on a ski that's has been a little bit too stiff, or then one that's been too soft, and this in between that I was looking for, I couldn't make that because I'm not a heavy guy. I'm only 73 kilos, so I had to go up to like a burlier ski, which someone 10 kilos heavier than me bends fine. Whereas I had to drop down to a ski that when I was going fast on it didn't have the torsional rigidity. But now I've skied on this ski that has more the characteristics are built for me, and it's like, oh, that's fun. So like the custom boots thing, there is actually something in the skis that's kind of, again, you can ski on anything. It's really fun to ski on straight skis too, but that flex, that torsional stiffness, all those things, when you start getting on a ski that really matches up to how you like to do it, all I can say is it's easier and it's fun.
What is that ski? I can see it. What is it?
Oh, it's an Original Plus.
Oh, okay. Jamie skis those. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And
so Austria.
Okay. What's the radius? What's the length?
That one's a 16-meter radius. It's a 175. It is their 6X. So it's like their cross carver, and the 6 stands for it's 69 underfoot.
Okay.
And you know, the thing that really surprised me, they sent it and I was like, oh no, it doesn't have a race plate. And usually a ski that I'm going to go take on hard snow, like, has to have a race plate or I know it's not going to hold. Anyway, I learned, no, you don't have to do that. You can actually the race plate will give the binding a more direct transfer feeling, but that stiffness underfoot, you can just build the construction of the ski in. So this ski has this beautiful flex that I like because it doesn't have the race plate there, and it's just through the construction. So it's more of an even bending line, and it holds better than a ski of a similar style that I've tried that usually doesn't come with a race plate. So that's been a kind of a cool new thing that I've learned. And I'm looking forward to learning more because these guys they've built skis, like horrible skis, deliberately built horrible skis to see what happens. Like a ski with like so stiff torsionally, but like bendy gas, or the other way around. And you know, they're like, the ski is pretty much unskiable, but you learn in what way it's unskiable. And so then you start going, oh, that's what I'm feeling there is attributed to this torsion or, you know, mix. And even like this torsion to flex ratio, there's like this 2-to-1, and some people like 2 to 1.2, and like there's these things that I'm going to learning about from these guys, which is really interesting, and trying a bunch more skis in Austria to see if I can find this ski that's kind of like my ideal, like West Coast fun carver. Like, you know, there's snowboarders that snowboard kind of carvings really come in, like really tight
like
radius,
Euro carving,
and like the knock-kneed look and the surfy, like
like the Euro carving stuff.
Looks,
yeah,
but not on hard boots.
No, carving's
you don't
back
have to
for
go
snowboarding.
That's it. And like they're playing on the sides of the runs like it's a wave, and really mucking around and doing the jumps. I want to make a ski like that for me. So a little bit wider. Mm-hmm. So on the days like it's spring and or you're playing off on the side, it doesn't like bury in your boot out. So you can tip it over more, but it's flexy, but it's carvy. Like that, I want that. That's my next ski I'm chasing for this northern winter.
That's cool. I've recently moved to last year. It was the first year that I skied on. I'm a sucker for retro stuff, and I'm on the Atomic Retro Arc. Have you seen that?
It looks very cool, that ski.
Oh, mate. And do you know what? I was hoping, because I bought it like unskied, so I just bought it off the internet. You can't find them anywhere. And I bought it in a length that I wasn't normally. I bought it in a 175, which is kind of a bit short, but it's okay. And I was just hoping and praying because it looks so cool. Underneath it, it's like an Atomic X9 or a whatever one of those is. But what it had is the quality that I rate above everything else in the ski, which is playfulness. And it is just the best thing. I skied it like every day of the season last year, and I'm going to buy another pair and put it in the garage for when those are dead. It just, honestly, just absolutely the best ski. And it has the playfulness of the old Castley RX-12, which is what I had. Not the one where they changed the radius, because they changed it to a 178. It was the 176. The one before that was a very playful ski as well, and that's the overriding quality I look for in a ski. It's like, does it rebound nicely so that you can ride it tip to tail and kind of play with it. I'm not interested in skis that are over stiff. That's what they changed the RX-12 Castley to something that was just mega stiff. I couldn't use it, unusable, and I just don't want to go. I was speaking to Mo Duffy about this, and he was saying the same thing as me. He's gone down a bit in terms of radius these days. He just doesn't want to go that fast anymore. He just wants to turn more. And I'm in the same boat. I just don't want to. There's also too many people around for skiing something that's like an 18-meter rad or something. There's just no space for it where we are. So yeah. But for me, playfulness is where it's at. That's
Same.
The only thing I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that's the best attribute in a ski, if it makes you feel playful.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, mate. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's late there, and enjoy your skiing, mate. I'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot. Catch you later.
See you soon. Thanks. Bye.